I'm here with Allison Hernandez of Mumeca's Poupées and Dolls, and Allison and I are going to be going to the Denver Museum of Miniatures, Dolls, and Toys today to do a program on dolls and social media.
Yes, and I'm so excited about this.
Yes, I am so excited too, but a lot of you were asking, hey, is this going to be filmed? At the museum, I don't know if we're going to be able to film it, so we're going to film it right now for you before we go. You get your own private tour.
Really?
And you came up with a top 10 list of how dolls have changed social media, or the other way around.
Social media has changed doll culture. So when Rachel told me we were going to do this, I thought about what am I going to talk about, and I thought I'll do this top 10 style because top 10 style is really popular on my channel. And so this is going to be the 10 ways or 10 things that social media and tech have done for doll collecting culture. So I want to start, number 10 is that researching dolls is easier. So let's talk about that. First of all, tech in general, the internet in general is so great for researching dolls. You can use archive.org if you guys have never used that. It's incredible. There are entire communities online, on Facebook, on Instagram that are dedicated to helping you identify dolls, and I just think that's so incredible. YouTube, which is where you're watching us now, YouTube is a wealth of knowledge. If you need to find something, you can pretty much find a video about anything that's out there, so I love that so much. Back in the day, I just want to show you guys this. 16-year-old Allison, this was her favorite book, the 3rd edition of Doll Values, Antique to Modern by Patsy Moyer. I had this book with me at every yard sale, every flea market I went to. I had this, like, what 16-year-old girl, that's her favorite book. But
love it.
was my favorite book. Like, I love this book so much. And I want to show you, like, that was what you were limited to for research. This was the only thing that you had for research, but now, you know, there's such a community that you can tap into to research things, and I want to show you an example of that. I am a Small World fanatic, so I am she's a little bit worse for wear because she was gotten at a garage sale, but this is a Small World doll made by Kmart in the 70s. These were sold at Disneyland and Disney World. And I'm a Small World doll fanatic, so I have been working on researching and compiling information about Small World dolls, and the internet has made that so easy for me. You know, in a book like this is such a niche sort of doll. Back in the day, you know, you wouldn't have been able to find this, but I actually put the call out there. Somebody, another collector, he messaged me on Facebook, y'all, and he gave me so much information. He had written to Pressman. Pressman was one of the companies that originally made Small World dolls, and he shared all that information with me. And that is what I love about social media and doll collecting, is the collaborative environment and the way that people aren't hoarding knowledge to themselves. We have these communities where we can share knowledge. And number 9 is that dolls are more accessible. So before, we were limited to what we could find, you know, locally at doll shows. You were limited to what the doll shops close by to you had, or what mail order catalogs might have had in them. But now you can get dolls through Instagram, through Facebook Marketplace, through eBay. I have gotten so many dolls that are difficult to find just through being able to use the internet. This doll, for example, is from Romania. This is from a Romanian artist. I would never have been able to buy this doll in the pre-social media age. And the only reason that I knew that this artist even existed is because someone shared a picture of their doll on social media and I saw it. She's completely made of wood, and I love wooden dolls. So, you know, that's one of the great things that social media has done for us, is that dolls are more accessible. If you do an eBay search, you just do an eBay search for dolls, you get over 1 million hits. There are over 1 million hits just on eBay. That's not counting Facebook Marketplace. That's not counting the dolls that are for sale on Instagram and different web pages. So that is another, like, amazing thing. Amazing and also dangerous is how accessible dolls have become these days. It's a little too easy sometimes. Number 8 is that the barriers of entry to doll making are a lot lower than they used to be. And what do I mean by that? You know, if you were looking for doll artists back in the day, you know, I say back in the day, like I kind of live, I'm an 80s baby, so I kind of lived through a little bit of it and experienced some of it, but I do a lot of research using old doll magazines and things like that just to try to get a feel for what doll culture has been like throughout the decades. And, you know, the big thing that I've gathered from the 70s and 80s through my research is that for doll making, a lot of what it was were porcelain doll making classes. You could find somebody locally, take a porcelain doll making class, then you could make dolls. There's a lot of hobby dolls, hobbyist made dolls that are out there these days that you can find. But now you don't have to take a class like that. You don't have to find an expert close to your home to be able to take a class. There are groups, especially on Facebook, for doll makers to share tips and share information with each other. You know, there's 3D sculpting. 3D sculpting is one of the newest. It's a tech tool available to doll creators. I want to show you guys a doll that was entirely 3D sculpted and 3D printed on 3D printer in resin. This is my Teeny Tinker's Bowie doll. This doll was entirely sculpted in 3D on a 3D sculpting program and then printed on a printer using resin. Absolutely incredible. And this artist, Teeny Tinkers, she's very open about how she got help from a lot of other doll makers. They helped her, they helped teach her, and that's one of the great things about social media is you wouldn't be able to meet these people necessarily in your hometown or even close by to you. You know, there's this real collaborative effort out there, again, sharing knowledge, and I think that's what's so beautiful about social media. Social media, of course, you know, it has its downsides, but as a doll collecting community goes, I think it's just a beautiful thing. Like, it's really elevated the community as a whole because we're able to share knowledge and we're able to collaborate like this. So I think that's great that just the barriers to doll, because we have so many artists to choose from now. There's so many beautiful dolls to choose from that are out there making dolls living their dream. Number 7 is doll discovery. How many times have you seen a picture of a doll that a friend posted and you were like, I need that doll, right? How many of you saw a picture of Grace or Grace in one of her awesome fashions and you thought, I really want that doll? Or Elowen, or, you know, upcoming Nema, maybe you've seen her. People can't collect what they don't know about. So if somebody hasn't seen the doll, they're never going to be able to collect it. They're never going to be able to have that in our lives. And dolls make me very happy, so I love getting new dolls. And so I think that's one of the great things about social media is that you're out there sharing dolls. This doll, like I said, I would never have gotten her if someone hadn't shared this artist on social media. I wouldn't know about Grace if it weren't for social media. I wouldn't be here with Rachel right now if it weren't for social media. So I just think that's one of the other beautiful things that social media has brought us as collectors is the doll discovery. And that can also be dangerous. That's also one of the dangerous things. You know, you see something that your friend shares, you're like, oh, I gotta have it, and then, you know, next thing you know, you've got 10 of them. So I don't know anything about that from real life. All right, number 6 is that social media and the internet and tech in general provides a whole new world of dolls to you. You know, before we were pretty much limited to what was here in the United States. I'm in the United States. I know a lot of you watching aren't from the United States, but you were probably limited to whatever was in your country locally, or maybe your neighboring countries. You know, we might have some dolls from Mexico here that you might find. You might find some dolls from Canada. But, you know, having the internet and social media just opens up a whole new global world of dolls. An example of this is Nancy Famosa. Nancy Famosa enjoys Barbie-like popularity in Spain. This is a Spanish doll made in Spain. This is the early version of her from the late 60s. I would not know anything about this doll if it weren't for social media. I followed a favorite blogger of mine. She is a Mexican blogger living in Amsterdam, and she had a Nancy Famosa doll. And I was like, who is that doll? What is that beautiful face? And I started learning more about her. And one of the things is, luckily I can read Spanish, but there's a lot of languages I don't read. But if you can figure out the word for doll in that language, go do a Google search. Google will translate for you, and it will open up an entire new world of dolls to you. Not only can you look at dolls from other countries, learn about dolls from other countries. That's one of my passions is I call it international playline dolls. I do an event at Modern Doll each year about a different international playline doll just because they're so much fun. You know, we're used to seeing what's available in our own region, and I love that Google Translate and following our friends from other countries and other places around the world just really opens that up to us. And Nancy has just been such a light in my life, and I'm so thankful to have discovered her, learned about her, and, you know, have quite a few Nancys in my collection now. And it also helps you can buy dolls from other countries. You know, 30 years ago that wouldn't have been possible, but today the internet and global shipping makes it super easy. Number 5 on my list is that social media helps encourage play and creativity. You know, you see somebody making photos of their dolls and, you know, set up doing something fun, and it makes you want to do that, and it encourages play. And what I get a lot of people tell me is that I was always a little embarrassed or ashamed to play with my dolls. You know, playing with dolls as an adult is certainly not the same thing as playing with dolls as a child, but I like to take my dolls out and travel with them. I like to do fun pictures with them. I want to show you a great example of that is the book The Little Mischief. Some of you may know this lady. Her name is Eileen, and she is Dolly Treasures, and she does the most amazing photos of her Blythes doing fun things, and it's so inspiring. And I think a lot of us are searching for something, for an outlet for our creativity, for an outlet to play with our dolls, and seeing other people having so much fun with their dolls and creating things with their dolls, it really inspires us to do the same thing. And I think that's so fulfilling for so many people. It's so fulfilling in your life to be able to do something creatively and have that outlet. And I just think social media is wonderful for that. Like, I've been introduced to so many cool ideas just of things to do with my dolls through social media. But I love this, and I love how she encourages play with other people through her Blythe dolls. Now, number 4 on my list is that we support an entire industry. You know, us collectors through social media, we're able to support an entire industry of doll makers and doll not just doll makers, but for example, this wig came from a guy in Spain who makes wigs. He makes wigs for dolls. This dress came from Etsy, from Tyrion and Catton, and I found out about her through Instagram. And she lives in Europe, and it's just, you know, so these things I wouldn't know about were it not for social media, but we're able to let other people live the dream, and they give us in turn these beautiful things. And so I think that's another thing that's so great about social media is it helps support the industry of doll collecting. We need to support the industry so that we have things to collect. You know, I like collecting modern dolls, and there's always something new coming out, and that's very exciting. Just like our new dolls coming out here at Virtual Doll Convention, that is just so exciting to me. And I love seeing a thriving doll community and doll market, and social media really just makes that possible. So I love that we're able to do that through social media. Number 3 on the list, and this one is so important and near and dear to my heart, is that through social media we can attract new collectors. We have to have new collectors, and people are constantly discovering the wonderful world of dolls, and this community is very welcoming. And I think people, you know, who want to be a part of something really amazing, they're attracted to that in this community. And this is something that I always say on my channel: the more of us there are, the better it is for everybody, because like we said before, we're supporting an industry, and if we want that industry to thrive, it's better when there's more of us. Yes, there can be times when we get a little competitive with each other because we're after the same dolls or we're after the same thing, but if there wasn't competitiveness over those dolls wouldn't exist in the first place. You know, there has to be a demand for that stuff for it to even be produced for us. And so I think it's so important that we're out here on social media plugging stuff, and that we're, you know, bringing new collectors in to help support those artists. And I want to show you guys a picture here, and this was here in Rachel's shop where a young collector came and visited, and that to me just makes my heart swell with pride that young collectors are watching Rachel's videos and learning about dolls and wanting to be a part of this community, because again, the more of us there are, the better it is for everybody. Number 2, and this seems a little dramatic, and I don't mean for it to sound dramatic, but this is true. I think social media and the doll community and dolls in general, it helps save lives. There are so many people that get into, especially during 2020, y'all, if I didn't have my dolls, I would have been so depressed. It was so tough for me, and I'm not the only one that went through that, and I think having dolls and having that source of positivity and having the sense of community, you have other people that you can talk to that just kind of, you play off the positivity with each other, and I really think it does that. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2018, and when that happened, I fell into a deep depression. I've never experienced anything like that before, and my dolls were the source of positivity in my life at that time, and I really turned to them, and that sounds really bizarre, I know, but I used them as my positive outlet. I played with them, and they really brought me a lot of happiness, my dolls in Star Trek, and I got through it. I was able to accept it. I'm in a really good place in my life now, but I think that dolls, sometimes, if everything in your life is going bad, that doll community is there for you. They've always been there for me, and like with my personal example, it's kind of hard for the people in your physical life when something like that happens. They don't really know how to react, and I think it was hard for them. It's a bit of a grieving process, but your doll community friends are just, they don't, I guess they're not there with you physically, and it's so wonderful to have them rally around you, and just, I think that's I don't know how else to describe it. It really saves lives. I think it helps so many people feel like a part of something and feel just enriched. And even to this day, anytime I go for my treatment, I take a little doll with me. This was the last little girl that went with me. And I take them with me just, it's a source of positivity to sit there, while you're sitting in a chair, hooked up to some fluids. But, it's fun to have just that little positive face looking up at you and thinking about positivity in life, because I try to focus on the positive. And so I think that's one of the best things about social media. And the number one best thing about social media and the doll culture and doll community is the friendships that are created through it. I have so many friends that I have met through social media, Rachel included, behind the camera here. Never would have met Rachel were it not for social media. I have a friend in my own zip code that I met because we were both part of a traveling doll project, and I didn't even know she lived there, but because we were in the same zip code, they had me get the doll from her, and I'm like, wait a second, you live in my town? And so now we're friends. I have another friend that lives in the next town over, another friend that lives 2 towns over, and I would never have met any of them without social media. One of them I met through my blog, one of them I met through Facebook, and then her I met through the Traveling Doll Project, but that was a project through Facebook. So social media really helps solidify that. And I just want to bring this full circle and talk about the friendships. I have met so many wonderful friends, and I want you guys to look at this picture. This is a picture of me, and next to me is Patsy Moyer. And if you remember 16-year-old Allison, whose favorite book was Doll Values Antique to Modern by Patsy Moyer, I would never have believed you at 16 years old if you told me that I would be texting with her every day in my adult life. But we are in a group chat and we text each other every single day, and I would never have been able to be friends with her if it were not for social media. And so I just feel so grateful for the friendships that I've made. They're more important to me than the dolls. The dolls are very important, they're very high, but the friendships I've made through doll collecting and the doll community online and social media is the number one most important and treasured and cherished thing that I have about social media and dolls. So that is my top 10 ways that social media has impacted doll collecting and doll culture. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. We would love to know in the comments below, what is your favorite thing, about social media and doll culture? I would love to hear from you guys. So guys, thanks so much for paying attention to me, and I hope you enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it so much. I'm sitting here nodding my head and like, oh my gosh, you go girl. Thank you so much, Allison.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody.
Bye.